Being right or being profitable? I was stuck in the middle of that question today and I just wanted to be right. So, looking back on that now, I would rather be profitable looking at my P&L for today, but it was just overall a tough day for me. I saw only one side of the market and, it led me to get FOMO'd into, chasing a trade. And this is what happens when you come into the market looking at some of the stuff in the overnight and you build such a strong bias leaning one way and you refuse to see the other side. And when you do that and you take a loss, I took a full loss. We'll get into the actual trades, but it just mentally kind of, had me chase another trade, which again, it goes to, it's a reoccurring theme with me on these losing days is that if I just would have stuck with my original thesis, I wasn't wrong. I wasn't patient. That's the problem. And if I just had some patience or, not had over leveraged myself in my trade, I would have had a totally different outcome on the day. So, it is what it is. It's Monday. Mondays are hard. We were away for the weekend. We went up to Whistler for Mother's Day and enjoyed the weekend. So basically Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was off the charts. So it's one of those things where I'm, almost overly excited to get back to the charts. And then we had the news that came out last night that the US and the Chinese had reached an agreement on tariffs. And it just led me to take a trade in the overnight session last night that worked out great. But just feel that bias to be long and this bullish sentiment and how approach this morning's price action. And I wasn't wrong with my bias. It's just how I wasn't patient with it. I just expected it to happen right away and, took my shot and lost on it. And then that's what led me to be impatient and take another shot and lost on that one too. And thankfully I'm using TopOne Futures and Project X and I have that lockout feature and I have $1,000 personal daily loss limit and I hit it. If I hadn't had that loss limit in, I probably would have taken one more trade because I did win one and lose one. And who knows the outcome of that trade? Who knows what it would have been? But at the end of the day, I got to stick by my rules, and I have these risk settings in place for that reason. So I was done. I was locked out for the day. I walked away. The silver lining to all of this, honestly, is I had one of my 350K straight to funded top one accounts in about 2% of drawdown, just under 2%, and they had to unfortunately do some rule changes, but as you know, we'll get into when I talk about a little later. It's these were needed if the company wants to be profitable, and I want them to be profitable because I do enjoy trading with them, and I think they have the best path to live, and I want to be a live trader, right? So my interest is not in sim farming. The people that are into sim farming, I get it. You guys want to make money, and that's the strategy you want to take, the approach you want to take. Good for you. I don't have anything against you personally, but that's not what I want to do. I want to be a live trader. That's why I wanted to learn how to trade. I wanted to learn how to trade so I could trade my own personal capital live. So what would be the next best or even the better thing would be to trade, you know, a firm's capital live. None of the simulated trading environment, which is awesome. Don't get me wrong. I've learned to trade in a simulated environment. It's been huge for my growth and my journey. So yeah, unfortunately they had to make a rule change just to, keep the company profitable and to stick around. And so in the process of doing that rule change, if you held an account with more than 1% of drawdown, that was in more than 1% of drawdown, that give you a free reset. And I actually got that this morning in the middle of that trade, but it kept my other two accounts. My trade was active. So instead of, having another 33% of a loss across the three accounts, I got that drawdown back and that one account reset. So, if you put that against the P&L, it was actually a break-even day. So I'm happy with that. That's the silver lining in what happened today and how it went down. But let's just get into what I was seeing at the charts in the morning, kind of what I saw in the overnight session, and I'll break down the 30 trades I took, and we'll go from there. So coming to the desk, you know, we had this gross kind of range we were in last week, and we broke out of it a little bit to the downside, upside here, but just Friday was just. I'm glad I didn't trade Friday. It was just terrible price action. and people were getting tossed all around and long, short, whatever it was. And so, I just didn't want to go into the weekend with any unneeded losses. And so I had Friday, basically all of Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. I get home yesterday, and obviously the tweets start coming out about U.S. and China supposedly reaching a tariff deal, whatnot, and they would, be announcing the details this morning. So clearly everybody was talking about a gap up. It was the market was going to gap up at open, and clearly it gapped up. That was that move there. So it gapped up 50, 60 points. So, looking super bullish. And I was thinking, you know what? I'm home. Let's see if I can get a long in. We're going to have bullish move here, and, let's capitalize on these things. And if I can be one and done on Sunday night and then not have to trade Monday and just focus on getting some content and some other stuff done, I could do that. And so I waited, took a trade, ended up going to bed, took 80% of the trade off, left one micro on, and I hit TP right here. I left all that on the table. I originally had my take profit set up here, but I was like, am I being greedy? What am I doing? We'll get into it when I get in the trade. But looking at this, we hold the daily VWAP beautifully. Buyers are in control. London session open. I guess this is when the official news dropped, and it was I believe a 10% tariff on the US and 30% tariff on China, reciprocal or whatever, however they wanted to do it. But the actual numbers came out of what the deal was about, and boom, you get the London session. They just at the London Open, just pump it and, pull it up, push it up. Sorry. We get a small pullback. Buyers just step right back in. Look how far we are. This is New York's VWAP is down here. This is a start daily VWAP. We're long gone, right? We're up almost 200 points from Friday's close. So, this is looking really bullish. This is looking really, really good. And me having that win and catching, this move here, just feel that bullish sentiment that I was feeling. And it just led me to take these trades. And let's get into the trades themselves. And this was the trade I took in this Sunday. We get this pullback here after the open, and price pushes back up. It takes the start of day VWAP, the daily VWAP, I should say, bounces around here, comes back down, finds support again at the low of day, and I wait for this break and retest of basically this daily VWAP and finding now a cleaner hold at the low of day VWAP. And you can see these buyers are not letting price get below the low of day VWAP. So I'm going to look to get long. Bookmap is showing me orders at 57.60 all the way to 57.80, all the way to 5800. And it's got me just, I'm able to have a 12-point stop. I don't think I need to be all the way down here. I got this lower day VWAP holding quite nice. If the buyers come back, if the sellers bring price back down to here and they take these two VWAPs and take even this low, I could be looking for a price to come back down here. So I'm going to look to be out. I'm okay with it. So I can put 5 micros on. I'm comfortable. It's about $300 worth of risk. And, we get this push up to the 60s. We're having dinner. Again, I'm not at the desk, so I'm okay with it. Price comes back down, and it just, you get these little chops here. Chop here, and we finally break back up into the 60s. I'm getting ready for bed. Again, there's nothing telling me price wants to come back down to here. But I've been in this situation many times in the past where I end up having a TP set up, just something crazy, like shooting for the stars, and I stop down at break even, and price comes up 50 points and then pulls back, and I get stopped out at break even. So I say, you know what? I don't want to be greedy. Let's just, learn to be content and just take what you can out of the market. And so I took 4 of the 5 contracts off. I'm up, I think it was 160 at that point on the trade. And I locked my stop at break even. Actually, I think I locked it a few dollars above just to cover whatever commissions were going to be left on the last trade. And I go to bed, I wake up in the morning, and what do I see? Hit my TP here at 57.80, and price just kept going. Now, normally I would have been upset, but this is one of those things that you just have to remind yourself that, what if I had my TP set up here at 5,800, price came all the way up to 57.90, and then came back down and stopped me out of break even. I basically, on one micro, made what doubled my total profit on the trade. So I can't be upset with that. And I wasn't upset with that, but this fueled this bullish sentiment coming into the morning. And so I'm up $300. I'm on stream this morning on ASFX TV. I'm live with Evan. So that adds another layer of pressure to me. And as I'm live on stream, I'm looking for a long to present. I'm clearly long biased. That's all I see in the market. I want to catch a long. I think this thing is going to get 5,900 or something. And that's kind of where I'm at. And as you can see at the open, the sellers did take control right off the open. Boom. Sellers are in control. We set in the opening range low. Buyers step back in here briefly. This red line is, I put a VWAP on that pin at the London Open, which was that, we'll call it a news pin on the London Open, which was that 80-point candle. And as you can see, buyers get back up to it and then they get stuffed here. Step back in. I'm watching the CVD. The CVD is minus 9,000, but I'm noticing it. To me, it seemed like it was slowing down. So I'm looking at this to be, a cheap long down here, and I'll take it to the top of the range. And as you can see, we held the opening range low again. And as we come back above, where multiple people in the group on the live got long here, and we're looking for that. I needed to see some confirmation, so I waited for this. We get a break. We get a retest of the opening range low, and then break again back above the New York. I get long. And what happens? Price drops around here. We have a nice hold. Price pushes higher. I'm excited now. And actually, some people took profit here. I didn't. I should have, once we broke above this news pin VWAP, I probably should have pulled my stop up a little bit just to, secure some of those gains, as I knew this could have been a really strong point of rejection. And I didn't. I was so married to the long. What happened? Price comes back down. We bounce off it again. There's orders down here at 58.15, which is basically there's equal lows back here from the pre-market, and it's the daily VWAP. So I'm looking for these orders to fill, to find support, and price to bounce. And yeah, it didn't. It took the orders, and then on the next pin, it stopped me out. So I took a full loss on that one. In hindsight, I was, just that bullish sentiment got me to rush into this. I should have waited for a candle open above the New York VWAP, cleaner price structure, something. I just was thinking that it was going to do this, this, and that. When I should have waited for this, and I should have waited for us to test this again. As it tested it here, I could have looked to got long here, and I would have had my stop down here. And as price came back, I would have probably cut it here, because now I've taken out these two lines of defense where I'm looking this as I'm in profit. This is nothing. Line defense number one, line of defense number two. So it would have had me thinking different if I bought it at a different price, and waited for this confirmation, but it is what it is. I'm not upset with it at all. Down 500, he minus that 300 is up. I was down 200 on the day. This is where the issue comes in, and this is on my next trade. Now I'm down $200. I should have walked away, but in my head, I told myself the opposite. I'm down $200. I can afford another trade. Now, me thinking I'm as smart as I am, and I know what I'm doing when it comes to looking at Bookmap. Now the CVD was at like minus 9 or 10,000, and it was declining. And as price took these lows, I'm thinking it's going to spill over here. You can clearly see what looks like, a rejection off this daily VWAP, which NQ was holding very nicely. There was a lot of weight on this VWAP today. And as we go to slightly break the lower day VWAP by prematurely enter, again, I got FOMO'd into this trade. I wanted to trace the shorts. I just wanted a little move, and I just wanted to get back to $200. I could do that very easily in my head. Again, I'm in 5 micros. And what happens immediately? Buyers find strength, find support at this lower day VWAP, pushes back up, takes the New York VWAP. And as you can see here, we chop around at that news VWAP. And then this chopping around, but staying under this news VWAP kept me in the trade. And, we come back down again, and we find support at this daily VWAP, which, like I said, was a strong level of support for the indices today, whether it was NQ or ES. But again, push back up, we pull back down. I should have closed the trade here, and I was actually talking to two other traders in the group with Christine and Thomas about this, and I could have closed this for a very small loss. But seeing this and seeing the CVD on Bookmap I really thought this was going to spill over at some point here. And so I just held in. And as we got above the New York VWAP and this news VWAP, this is where being right and being stubborn cost me more money than it should have. Again, my fellow traders were asking me, why didn't I get out here? I held on thinking that there's levels on Bookmap. Are we going to take these? Can I call those equal highs? Are we going to take these equal highs and pull back down? I'm not seeing the long side of the coin. I'm tunnel vision focus shorts. What does price do? Just drifts higher. And I watched this happen, which is even more painful, but just goes to show you when you're stubborn and you want to be right, it's hard to be convinced otherwise. And that's one of the biggest downfalls of a new trader is wanting to be right. It's actually deadly, to be honest, because it can cause you to blow accounts left, right, and center. And what happened as we pushed up here, I had my stop up here. I got stopped out. I actually hit my personal daily loss limit by a few bucks, which locked me out of the accounts, which thank God it did, because now I'm upset up here. Who knows what I would have done? Maybe I would have flipped and went long and I would have made some money, or I would have tried another short. Who knows? Or I could have got long and price would have just came back down on me and it would have cost me even more money. So I'm glad it locked me out. It is what it is. This is learning to trade. These are, the downfalls of learning to trade, and these are the things that we have to learn and we have to go through. So, I'm accepting the loss. This last one, I could have minimized this by about 60 to 70%. So I could have been down a couple $100, and then you add that to the 200 I was down on the day, I would have been down less than $500. And instead I'm down 1,000 in each account. So, hard lessons that needed to be learned. But again, it is what it is. Let's have a look at the calendar. Just look at this beautiful start to my week. This was my trade last night in the overnight, and then this is today. So I'm starting the week down 2K. I got some serious work to do over the next 4 days. We got CPI coming in tomorrow. It's going to be interesting. But yeah, I'm just going to slow it back down, be patient. And I want to be patient and be able to come in with, I'm looking at trading 10 micros. So I want to hopefully see how the opening range sets tomorrow. And I feel like I'm putting myself, when I trade the small size, to take bigger losses, where I can just be more firm and that this is what I'm going to be in my risk and this is what I'm going to be out, versus just letting it drift or letting it do weird things. Not weird things, sorry, letting me do weird things when it comes to my trading. But something I'll be looking at. Either or. Let's see. Tomorrow's a new day, and let's get at it, right? So thanks for watching the video. I always appreciate it. Feedback would be appreciated. Anything, subscribe. We're coming out, actually, me, Christine, and Thomas, with a podcast that's going to be coming out once a week. That's just the real struggles of learning to trade, and it'll be really interesting. I'll link it in the notes, and it'll be on my page. So definitely check that out too, and I'll catch up with you guys all tomorrow. Cheers.